Welcome to PSY 503, Item Analysis, Study Session 13. Introduction. An important topic in psychological testing and test construction is item analysis, as discussed in this 13th lecture. When a test is under construction, several items are initially generated. All these items, on the long run, would not be valid and reliable. It becomes imperative for only the items that will be valid and reliable to be retained in a test. This calls for scientific procedure to achieve this goal. Hence, the topic on item analysis becomes inevitable. Objectives. The objectives for this lecture include the following. 1. Students should be able to understand what item analysis means. 2. They should be able to conduct item analysis on any newly developed psychological test. 3. They should be able to determine the item difficulty and discrimination level of a test item. 4. They should be able to follow adequate steps in establishing the reliability of a test. Content. There are a variety of techniques for performing an item analysis, which is often used, for example, to determine which items will be kept for the final version of a test. Item analysis is used to help build reliability and validity into the test from the start. Item analysis can be both qualitative and quantitative. The former focuses on issues related to the content of the test, like content validity. The latter primarily includes measurement of item difficulty and item discrimination. Item difficulty. An item's difficulty level is usually measured in terms of the percentage of examinees who answer the item correctly. This percentage is referred to as the Item Difficulty Index, or P. Item discrimination refers to the degree to which items differentiate among examinees in terms of the characteristic being measured, e.g., between high and low scorers. This can be measured in many ways. One method is to correlate item responses with the total test score. Items with the highest test correlation with the total score are retained for the final version of the test. This will be appropriate when a test measures only one attribute and internal consistency is important. Steps in establishing reliability. After the discussion so far, it should be clear that the more reliable a scale, the better, e.g., more valid the scale. As mentioned earlier, one way to make a sum scale more valid is by adding items. You can compute how many items would have to be added in order to achieve a particular reliability, or how reliable the scale will be if a certain number of items were added. However, in practice, the number of items on a questionnaire is usually limited by various other factors, e.g., respondents get tired, overall space is limited, etc. Let us take a case of prejudice against foreign products as an example, and outline the steps that one would generally follow in order to design the scale so that it will be reliable. Step 1. Generating items. The first step is to write the items. This is essentially a creative process where the researcher makes up as many items as possible that seem to relate to prejudices against foreign products. In theory, one should sample items from the domain defined by the concept. In practice, for example in marketing research, focus groups are often utilized to illuminate as many aspects of the concept as possible. For example, we could ask a small group of highly committed Nigerian consumers to express their general thoughts and feelings about foreign products. In educational and psychological testing, one commonly looks at other similar questionnaires at this stage of the scale design, again, in order to gain as wide a perspective on the concept as possible. Step 2. Choosing items of optimum difficulty. In the first draft of our prejudice scale, we may include as many items as possible. We then administer this questionnaire to an initial sample of typical respondents and examine the results for each item. First, we would look at various characteristics of the items, for example, in order to identify floor or ceiling effects. If all respondents agree or disagree with an item, then it obviously does not help us discriminate between respondents, and thus it is useless for the design of a reliable scale. In test construction, the proportion of respondents who agree or disagree with an item or who answer a test item correctly is often referred to as the item difficulty. In essence, we would look at the item means and standard deviations and eliminate those items that show extreme means and zero or nearly zero variances. Step 3. Choosing internally consistent items. Remember that a reliable scale is made up of items that proportionately measure mostly true score. In our example, we would like to select items that measure mostly prejudice against foreign products and few esoteric aspects we consider random error. To do so, we would look at the item means and standard deviations and eliminate those items that show extreme means and zero or nearly zero variances. End of study session 12. Thanks for listening.